we're going to learn how to thread a needle and how to make a knot on it. Okay, just before we begin, what's important is that when you're working with a needle, it's important to make sure that you have knowledge of where exactly it is. And for that, what we usually do at our studio, a lot of students make these little cushions. It's basically a small little pillow with a stuffing inside, and this is where that becomes a little like a hotel or a home for our little needle. If you don't have this, just a little piece of felt will just do fine, or if you have some sort of a stuffy at home, you can just use the stuffy to help you out. Okay, just make sure when you use a big stuffy, don't put the needle too far in because you might lose it. All right, so we have our little needle in the hotel, we have our pair of scissors, and we have thread. That's what we're going to need in order to learn how to thread the needle and how to make sure that you have a knot at the end and how to make a knot. So if you never worked with a needle before, a needle has a very sharp point at one end and a little what they call an eye or a little pickable hole. Okay, so now to thread it, as you see, I'm gonna put it back in a little house, our needle, and I'm gonna cut enough thread to thread our needle. Now, about amount of thread you want to use. A lot of people make a mistake by seeing that they have to do a lot of stitching, and what they do is they cut really long thread. The problem with that is that once you start sewing, the thread gets tangled. So in that case, I always say don't be lazy. Cut enough thread that you need and then keep rethreading the needle. Okay, now I usually cut, and I usually make my students cut about 1 meter of a thread, or maybe a little bit under. The best thing to do is mark on your table where you work the measurement from beginning and end, and every time you have to do it, so you don't have to measure it, you just place it like this and cut the thread. So I'm gonna do my own measurement. The other thing is, when you cut your thread, don't cut it straight. Cut it on an angle. It's okay, we can do it again actually. So when you have an end like this, the best thing to do is to take your scissors correctly and cut your thread on an angle like this. What it does is, I know it's hard to see, but it makes it the thread a lot pointier, so it's a lot easier to thread our needle. So once we have it cut, we're going to take our needle and we are going to put the thread right through the needle, through the eye of the needle, right like that. Okay, so then you will pull that end, and now what you can do is you can put your needle back in the house like this to a little cushion and take both ends of the thread and join them together. Don't worry about the needle, it will fall exactly where it needs to go. Once our ends are together, then you're going to pull the thread, and you see the needle comes right in the center of our thread. Now, to make a knot, it's important that you thread both ends are together. You take this into one hand and you take your needle, making sure it's all separated nicely, into another. And now I'm going to show you the way to make a knot. It's sort of an easier way, and that I find a lot of people get it a lot easier. If a lot of people find it a lot easier. So what you will do is you're going to put this part of the thread on top, okay, and then you grab the end here, pinch it like this, hold on to that. Now this end you are going to wrap around your needle about 3 times. Now to make sure it's not super tight, okay, then once you've done, you pull it down, move your fingers so you go right over that which you just wrapped, and then holding it tight, you're going to pull your needle right through. And at the end, what you're going to end up with, a nice little knot. And if you have too long of an end that you see here, just trim it off. Okay, that's how we do a knot.